Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome you to this new webinar. Agile methodologies are here to stay because they allow business leaders to respond more quickly to rapidly evolving customers' needs. And it provides crucial business benefits to those organizations that can apply it with success. If you attend today's webinar, it is without doubt because you have certainly experienced or you anticipate what the possible consequences are when the consideration is about the implementation of such a change as switching from a waterfall way of managing projects to an agile way. Or maybe you're about to manage the people side of change of a project in an agile context and you are wondering how to apply change management in an interactive way. Or how to create adaptive and living change management plans, or how to prepare yourself to work in this new context and aiming to raise the pace of change. In both situations, you feel that moving to Agile is a total paradigm shift, and you are right. Our intention is to help you to see clearly what to consider in both cases. So, the webinar started at 2 p.m. Central Europe time and will last 1 hour. It will be given in English by Michel Kranzen. Michel is an Nexum expert in our Agile change management practice, and Agile has no secret for him for many years. He has managed the switch to Agile in many organizations in Belgium and abroad, in large to very large organizations. On the other hand, Michel is also one of our advanced Prosci instructors teaching change management and delivering consulting services in Agile change management. You have understood that there is no better person than Michel for today's webinar. Welcome to those who have just joined us and are trying to get on the train. And before we start the presentation, let me give you some practical details about this webinar's conduct. You can ask your question throughout the session by using the Q&A icon at the bottom of the Zoom window. We will answer all of them at the end of the presentation. If you have technical questions, you can use the chat button. We will try to help you as much as we can. And likewise, if you want to share some ideas or experience about what is said during the webinar, you can also use the chat. We will ask you to use Poll Everywhere to ask you some questions and get your inputs on some topics during the webinar. But how does it work? You have to connect to the website with www.polevy.com/nexum and enter your first name or alias of your choice. You can also download the Poll Everywhere app on your mobile from the Apple App Store or from Google Play and join the Nexum room. While you connect to Poll Everywhere, let me briefly repeat what you will learn today. In my introduction, I drew your attention on two sides of Agile change management. Contrary to a commonly held belief, Agile methodologies are not restricted to product development. They affect the whole organization in almost every aspect. At the human level, every staff member will have to adapt the way they work to some extent. In a couple of minutes, Michel will explain on one hand what to consider when you are charged to take care of the people side of change of a move to Agile, and on the other hand, the key principles of adapting your change management practice to this highly dynamic work environment. We hope that you will leave our webinar with a clear view of these two challenges. We also hope that you will understand what is required to equip yourself on top of your change management skills once you consider moving to an Agile environment. And if you have that need, please be informed. Michel is giving specific workshops on this topic. If you want to know more about it, just drop a line in the chat during the session. I wish you an excellent webinar, and Michel, the floor is yours.
Okay, hopefully you hear me. If not, please use immediately that chat, and welcome to you all. Andrea, you just heard, is just sitting next to me. So sometimes I will be looking not to you, but to Andrea. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to be there with so many people to this session. We got already quite some information on concerning the concerning the content of this session. So I'm going to go quickly through the agenda, but I will make a short introduction. There are some assumptions which we need to make. We focus on that paradigm shift in project management Andrea already referred to, and this means it will become a change. It will become a journey. We will explain in that moment. And that journey means that when we want to work in an agile way, there's always a period where you go to agile and you use already agile techniques of that. And then at the end, well, it's not at the end, you work in an agile way and you do your continuous improvement. And we are going to use just these small steps to go through our agenda. So let's quickly go through that introduction and the assumptions which we have. Just before starting, I just reflect on what Andrea said. Thank you, Andrea, for putting the bar so high. We'll see, of course, where we get. Certainly, there are questions, and it might be that we can't answer them all in this 1 hour. Of course, if we have more questions which we can't answer, we come back to you with some written responses on those ones afterwards. Andrea, that's all right? She's nodding. That's all right. So that is more than okay. Introduction. Well, I made an introduction of myself. I'm going to skip it because Andrea, of course, did it already. Just to know, I had 50% of a let's say a life more at the IT side, and there I got the agile flavors into me, and I got there, for instance, implementing agile, implementing scaled agile frameworks, and so on. And on the other side, as mentioned also by Andrea, I am a Prosci instructor. So, and I was for years a manager and also an external change manager. When do you call an interim manager? Not to say, hey, it's going here very well, we are going to continue. Well, there's always one or another initiative to go from A to better, and change management for that we need. Good. We have some, I said, we need to align a little bit. There are some basic elements of Agile, and that's an assumption which I make, that you all are interested, who is here, that at least you touched some of the aspects of Agile. Nevertheless, I'm going, of course, just quite rapidly through them. The first element, or the first things, is an Agile team. Well, an Agile team has 3 roles, and I'm going to be very explicit. An Agile team, when we talk about Scrum, Scrum is an Agile method. That it's the same within SAFe, another Agile method, or in DevOps, another Agile method. But there are others where you work in a lean startup or in a Kanban, and maybe you are not using these roles in this way. That's of no issue. You will recognize the different principles. So within a Scrum team, what do we often have? Not often have. What I hope that we will have is, first of all, a product owner. He or she is the customer representative, is going to take contact with the person. That person is responsible for the product backlog. What are we going to deliver? And hence, within the team is the authority on the scope and the content, which makes sense, of course. Next to that, there is another one, which is the Scrum Master. Well, that's more the coach of the team and is a servant leader in this way. And so this person is facilitating the different, as we call it, ceremonies, the different meetings which we have. When we have a daily stand-up, okay, it's 15 minutes. We say, what did we do yesterday? What do I plan to do today? And is there something which is blocking or slowing me down? which they call an impediment. That is a Scrum Master. And the third role which you have in an Agile team, and it's important that our roles, it are developers. Maximum 9 person, otherwise it becomes too complex, and then you just cut it in two. They are part of one team, of course. That's the focus in theory. Often in reality, we see that some people are working over different teams. This team is self-organizing, and the developers also, of course, and they feel themselves also accountable to deliver what we call the features, the product features, and the user stories, as we say. It's a team which is cross-functional. It are not developers like IT developers. Somebody who's maybe from marketing, and there's a marketing attribute to be delivered, then also these people can be a part of that. So it is quite cross-functional. And what do? They deliver in sprints. In short times, they're going to deliver something. They are going to deliver what we call a releasable package. I think this is known by everybody. The origin of Agile, where was it? Well, it was in 2001. What you see on the slide on the right side, somewhere in Utah, snowbird, 2001, a few people came together and they say, we want to do project management in a different way. And they wrote down an Agile manifesto. An Agile manifesto, if you would type Agile manifesto in Google, you will find a copy. It's free. And they wrote down 4 values and 12 principles. I'm going to put aside the principles, but those 4 values are for us with change management really important. You see them. The first value is individuals and their interactions are over processes and tools. So first of all, I want to interact and feel what is and see what is are the best ways. Then I'm going to follow step by step by step. A second one is responding to change rather than following a plan. If I compare that to a waterfall, okay, we create a plan, we discuss a lot, then we say, this is it, and we deliver them. Of course, there are some change requests which you can put in, but you need to return them, etc. I'm not going to talk this, but responding to change, really, that is, of course, an important element also within this course. And customer collaboration over contract negotiations, it can be also internal customers. And do I always need really contract negotiations, or can we start? And the last one, initially it was working IT systems. Well, you can delete that IT system, working systems, because it's going beyond IT. It's also delivering value as a whole business. Are we ready to first have a system, put it live, and how we did it? Well, that documentation, we can do that afterwards. These 4 values, well, I want you to go to Poll Everywhere, to PolyV, to that one application which was mentioned by Andrea. And please go to the first slide, because what I want to know is how you are, how in your company, on the condition that you are working in an Agile way, or maybe when you're a consultant that you're working for an Agile company, well, are individuals and their interactions indeed over processes and tools? Go to your phone and please, is it the case, really go to the green side? If it's completely not the case, go to the red side, or something in between. Curious to know what are the reactions. The first are coming in, and we see already that a few are on the amber, on the orange part. Thank you all for participating. Well, it's incredible. Huh? That's very nice. And so we see, what do we see already? We see a tendency. Well, it's not all on the green side. A lot are on the on that middle, on the yellow one, or on that orange side. Thank you, and this is really valuable because it says already something about the culture and the mindset. And if you are there, then probably we need to shift. Does it mean you always need to end up at a full green? No, you take, of course, that decision. Good. And I see also a few in the real red one. Let's take the second one. Ready? Here we go. Very important one. Do we respond to change? If somebody says, okay, I got some client data which is saying we are not going in the right direction, so we need to shift, we adapt that new website, or do we stay the course, we keep on going, doing this, and so on and so on. And also here, it are your customer data. You are putting your estimation here. But my feeling, and we will see what is the result afterwards. I see here more reaction on the second green one, and this says I'm very happy. Nevertheless, there's also quite a portion on the orange amber one, meaning again we need to shift quite a lot, and I see still responses coming in. Thank you for this. Well, let's go and try the next one. Customer collaboration over contract negotiations. Am I going to my colleagues and can we negotiate quite fast or talk about things? Then it needs to be here, this document, please sign this, because if you do not sign it, we can't continue, and so on and so on. And also here, we see some answers, if I can see this as a, let's say, nearly as a bell curve, that we are in the middle, and there's also quite some work. Andrea, incredible huh? How people are responding. It's just nice. Thank you, really, thank you guys. The last one. What is the last one? Working system. And a system is, like I mentioned, much bigger than just an IT system. For instance, I create a new product. That new product is also on a website. My call center is ready to get responses on that one. And if we have everything there, can we go, if we have a working system, that we go live and that we do documentation later. And here you see quite a tendency which says we are better on the, let's say, on the greenish side. You see more on the full green one, which is very clear. Still responses coming in. So again, thank you for this response. And so I'm taking some distance. We had 4 values, and these 4 values are not just purely IT elements. No, they are linked to how people are also interacting. When I have working systems over comprehensive documentation, then I'm doing more towards then I'm interacting more than just following a process. Thank you for all this feedback. And then as a last one, of course, as an introduction, I'm not going into detail of this, but, and here it's mentioned that Scrum, and you can add again Scaled Agile or other methodologies. But roughly, what do you have? You have a product owner who's going to say, we have this product backlog. The team is going to say, we are going to estimate the priorities set by the product owner. If we find a solution, we clap our hands, we have a sprint up every day, we stand up, we see, are we realizing, because we committed to this, so we could adapt. And at the end, we are very, very transparent. We show what we did. We also show, demonstrate failure, because we learn from it. And at the end, we do a sprint retrospective. My assumption is you all know this. And having this known, I have to inform you. In project management, due to Agile, there is a paradigm shift. And that paradigm shift, what does it mean? You see on the upper right corner, a typical waterfall planning, and on the other one, there's also some structure in it, but people are putting on some post-its. Are post-its, do they have the same value as a task, which is mentioned on the other side? How does this cope? Are we working another way? Yes. What that paradigm shift, what does it mean? In a lot of Agile methods, not all, we don't even talk anymore about a project. It's an improvement initiative. And as a waterfall project, it has a start, But it doesn't mean that there's a defined end state. We have a vision. There's a vision of the product owner. We want to reach that. But how we get there, maybe that vision is also adapting, and maybe we're going there in a different way towards it. So there is a start, but there's no end, and you continue delivering or improve, delivering features until there's no value anymore. And that you say, we are not creating value anymore, well, then we are not going to continue investing. Then we look to something else. Even more, maybe the last elements, features, we're not going to deliver, because on another project, it's better to invest our money over there. But that one is adoption included. If you are not including adoption, meaning the use of your product, then you are not capturing the value. The second one is, as you mentioned, we embrace change. So if there is change, okay, we will adapt, as just mentioned. An important one, as mentioned in the Lean Startup, it is on validated learning, meaning we are going to measure. And also, if you look through the eyes of change management, it means that we have adoption matrices. If we do not have them, well, why should we work in an agile way? Because we are then in the dark. We don't see even that we need to shift. If you do so, agile, it comes along with a new culture, whether you like it or not. A new culture, a new mindset. And this means that, I give an example, but we come to that one. Decision making, it's not anymore up there in a steering committee where the project manager is going. No, we ask the people of the steering committee to come to the people, and they are going to demonstrate. And you as a decision maker, as a sponsor, you need to say, yes, I accept this, what you have delivered. Thank you, or not. And as we have seen, we have a Scrum Master, we have a product owner, we have developers. Where is the project manager? The project manager doesn't exist anymore. So if we see these four, well, then we can really talk about a paradigm shift. And as you all know, we are within Nexum, a group which is really training and focusing on Prosci, the most spread change management methodology on Earth, and we're really proud of it. Well, they are research-based, and so also within Agile, they did a few years ago a survey, and they asked what are the greatest contributors to an agile transformation. Well, the first one is strong executive sponsorship. Let's keep that in mind. It will come back. A second one, communicate effectively, and for me, even the subtitle is important: timely, digestible, balanced, and avoid saturation. There's a reason why this is written. Keep that in mind. Do not forget, people need to know the knowledge. So if you do not train on Agile, well, it won't work. And it seems, well, that, yeah, it's so obvious. No, make explicit what is implicit. And then ensure that Agile experts were involved. If you do not have really that those experts, please look for them in the outside world, because that is quite important. On another event, you see that they identified challenges when adopting and scaling to Agile. It's maybe written too small, and you see some icons, red icons, which appeared, and these identified what are. I'm going to zoom in for a moment, and if you zoom in, what are elements which are really causing resistance? Well, general organization resistance to change. We have a cultural not to adapt. That's okay. Not enough leadership participation. Oh, okay, that was that left side for me from Prosci just before. Another one which is linked is organization cultural and odds with agile values. Okay, we said there is a new mindset and cultural, and often the existing culture is competing with this agile values. Certainly, if you look a little bit upwards to our sponsors. And these sponsors come back in the adequate management support or the lack of business, customer, and product owner availability. And not giving the availability is risking to ensure that you are not, it gives you a risk not to be not to be successful. Okay. Well, if we know that there's a paradigm shift, well, it becomes a journey. For us within Nexum, this was for us important. How can we say we see this coming and we want to go to work in an agile way and then work in an agile way? Well, what are the elements to ensure that we are successful? And for this, we said, okay, when it is a journey, well, then it needs to be a journey also for us. And as we did just before, first you need to align on change management. You need to align on agile. We aligned on agile, and my assumption, implicit, not explicit, but I do it now. Of course, we look through the eyes of our process, Prosci change management methodology. What we need to foresee if we want to succeed, imagine you would have no project management. You would go to a waterfall. Even then, you know, there's quite some change. Well, we go to an agile way, which is completely different. Well, you need to prepare that. And you need to set conditions for success. And that's key. If you don't have these conditions, you will have problems in the later phase of this journey. And once we have done that, and that work is mostly in the shadows, then you go to agile where you learn the method and you adopt the culture already. And once you are going to that agile way, suddenly you will recognize we are working already in an agile way, and then you expand because you are going to have continuous improvement. And of course, you will sustain your agile way of working to ensure that you are there. And so we detailed, of course, every part, the introduction and the alignment. I'm not going to explain again, but that preparation, where you see that we have put this on what we call a Kanban, where we say, okay, we have a backlog. What do we want? What are all activities which we need to do? It doesn't mean it needs to be in that order. Maybe the order can be different, but you will work on one. You're doing that. You will. It will be done, and maybe sometimes it blocks. Then you will have an impediment, of course. Well, at that preparation phase, identify all your risks. And we do not have enough time, of course, to zoom into that one. But think about all your people-related risks. They are often forgotten. We have a second one, which is if you are convinced that change management is needed, that adoption is needed, please sell change management again. Because selling this in an agile method, you need to have discussions. For instance, oh, we don't need change management. We have an agile coach. Okay, how does it fit both of them? A third one is you need to understand what is the full scope, and that full scope is not only a new website, a new initiative, a new SAP system, a new whatever that you're implementing. It's also a part of. It means you're also working towards, you're also applying a new project management approach. So it makes this change even more complex. Together with that other project methodology, there is a new method. So you need to invest in the culture. And by the way, often the shop floor needs to be open. That makes it really complex. If you have that full scope, then it means that leadership needs to accept to act, not only on that first change, but on all of them. Also the new project methodology. Oh yeah, we will do that in that way. That's often a reaction, but that's for the people to execute. No, they have their role and there's another mindset. So there's a shift of culture. And the last one, if this is the case, you have identified all your risks, you know the full scope, leadership has accepted, you need to write a story for this big business transformation, including your go to agile. In the next phase, you are going to say, okay, we have taken that decision, we are going for that. Well, it means a twofold approach. On the one hand, we have an agile method, and on the other hand, you have a cultural / mindset to apply. So often there is a training which is provided, and you see that on the bottom there. You take some Agile expertise when necessary, and you learn by doing. You're not going from 0 to 100% on that. And secondly, there's a other mindset and cultural. So that's a cultural change. And the first moment that the cultural change becomes visible, it is in your governance. And I'm zooming there already. I gave already the example. In a waterfall, you take those decisions in the steering committee, and there is no connection between the people who delivered this and those who take a decision. When you are in a demonstration, a demo, please let them come. Let there also be end users. That's not often the case. Let there be the developers, and all have their responsibility. This is what we delivered just before. And as it is a big change, don't do it alone. Ensure that you have change agents who are going to say, yes, this is the right direction to go. And the last phase of that journey, well, the last phase, but it takes a real long time, of course. Well, you're going to apply change management, not only on that go to that Agile, but on your business transformation and so on. This means that Agile, which is one of the concepts of Prosci, of course, which is an abbreviation, very briefly. And we say if a person wants to go through a change, about this abbreviation, well, first that person needs to have the awareness why a change is needed. Secondly, the person needs to have the desire for a new change. It doesn't need a desire, it's always a Valhalla. No, I take an active decision to participate. The third one is the K of knowledge. So yes, we need to train people, and surely here it is already proven. The fourth phase is ability. Give people time to be able to become able. And the last one, reinforcing every activity needed to ensure that people stick to that change. We need to look for ADKAR, like Prosci also did in some of their presentations. We need to look through the lenses of Agile, because it might look a little bit different than in a waterfall. Secondly, how does change management fit in Agile? And it means who is doing it and how are we organizing that? And what you see on the last two elements, well, we know a lot of change management activities. How do we get them on the product backlog? And of course, as mentioned earlier, if we want validated learning, learn what is happening, it means we need to measure. And so we can't put that one aside. Where are we in this journey? And so thank you for all the people who reacted on our survey. And we know that all these surveys, so really thank you for those who answered. And we asked two things. How well are we doing Agile? Which means this is the methods. And the second question is, how well are we being Agile? Well, that's more the cultural and the mindset. And you see here two gauge curves. And what do you see? That, and these are your answers, that on all these companies, we are surely not yet in the green. And it means that it is indeed, and it are your answers, that it is a journey. But what are the points of attention when we look to the method? And you see here the two red ones. What does it mean? The two questions with the lowest score. The definition of done is understood by all. Well, as it is in red, not everybody understands what we really wanted to do. And I always rephrase it. When are we happy? It's not clear that we say, when are we happy? Oh, if that is not clear, then it is difficult to adopt, of course. And secondly, if you look to the method, and there are some ceremonies like we call a daily stand-up, we demonstrate what we have, we look, we step back and we do a retrospective. Well, they happen and they are on a predefined moment at the same cadence and so on. It's not yet installed. If it's not yet installed, it means we still have some work to do. And if you look on the Be Agile way, how well did we incorporate that mindset? Well, then we see that all stakeholders are, we have to say, not present during that planning event or during a demo. And that management is not empowering teams as they should be. And thirdly, senior management is by default active and visible, build coalitions and communicate directly with the people. Thank you, Prosci. We said this is key in change management. So if we did not put this question into it, we would have made a mistake. Well, these three are all three the lowest scores in that Be Agile. So there is quite a work, and I'm happy to link this to the research of Prosci, which said, okay, senior management involvement is quite important. Yes, indeed. That is the feedback you gave to us. And there is a very, very important learning towards that concept of that journey. And what does it mean? You see here the same journey. Only the background is moved away. It's not that mountain anymore, but it is a tunnel. And by experience with Nexon, companies who said, well, we go from no agile and we say, now we are agile and you need to work in this way, and hop, we do it. And they skip that prepare. There it is. You skip the management support mostly. You do not take to adapt time to adapt to that method and to that cultural, which is in your go-to part. Well, what happens? We get a call. Hello, Andrea. I'm from company X, and this is a real example of a stock, a company on the stock market in Belgium. Can you help us out? Because we are blocked and we don't understand why. And why was it? Because they have forgotten these first steps. Not taking this one, I assure you, you will return, or even you create a history of failed changes, and it will be even more difficult. So how do we approach that go to agile, that mindset? Just going to check on the timing. Yes. How are we going to agile, and how are we going to assess really indeed that we are on the right track for our cultural? So another Prosci tool is, and I really like it, is the aspects of a person's job which are impacted, for instance, by a project. Processes could be impacted, systems can be impacted, tools can be impacted, job roles can be impacted. Critical behavior can be impacted. For instance, I want to empower a team. A mindset, a belief. I really believe that agile context is delivering us. The reporting structure can change. The performance review can change. Compensation can change, and location can change. And depending on this impact index, there it will say whether we have, as you see on the upper circle with a question mark, it can be a huge change or it can be a small change. Well, let's do that exercise with you guys. So I invite you all to go to Poly-V again. And the first 5 you see here, and just on your idea, rank whether processes are a 1, which is really low impacted to not, versus a 5, all processes are changing, and or whatever in between. Where do you score the impact on processes, on systems, on tools, on job roles? So very curious to see what will happen. I see immediately processes are heavily impacted. Systems are more medium impacted. What I see, tools are really impacted. Meanwhile, while you're busy, I explain also tools. I have here a clicker in my hand. That's for me a tool. A system is my Microsoft Office system, for instance. And so we often think in a blue in a white colorway. Well, there's a blue colorway. And what we see on this already, processes are impacted, systems are impacted, tools are impacted, job roles are impacted, critical behavior. And we see you all went through that most responses are concerning a 4 or even on a 5, and we look to critical behavior. Good. Let's go to the second part, and we only do that because we couldn't bring it on one slide. So please, what about mindset, reporting structure, performance review, compensation, location? I'm very curious to see here, what are your ideas? And based upon these first 5, we already saw there's a lot of impact. The mindset, first ones react as a 4 and 5, and I think you're spot on. Reporting structure, very, very interesting one. Happy to see this. Performance reviews, also there you see performance review is changing. Compensation, for a lot of you have even answered a 1 or minor, a 2. And so meanwhile, it is popping up more and more and more. That's right, it's very good. And then we have the location. I have to say, Andrea, we have a smart public. We have a smart public, and I'm going to say why. Because you all identified that all 10 elements of the impact index are impacted. So it means we are mostly in a situation which you have on the upper right corner with a question mark. And I'm going to give just a few examples. The most where you have scored a 4 and a 5, that makes sense, of course. I go to compensation. Think about compensation when you're throwing away the role of a project manager, the function of a project manager, and there you have a product owner, scrum masters, and development team. And by the way, it is a self-organizing team, and it becomes roles. How are you going to compensate? I can tell you, with a transformation towards an agile way of working, HR doesn't like it, and they have then at that moment nearly the same amount of hair as I have, because they don't know how to cope with it, which makes sense, which is logic. It are not so easy. But location also looks a little bit more to the side. To the location, although you're working in the same building, you are more working in a collaborative way. You're going to work more in a you're going to work with other people. It can be flexible, and so by default, that always has an effect. You're not going into detail, but think about this when going in an agile way. And how do I need to approach it? Well, we have do it in a structured way. You see, it are different stages, but you can go back and so on, but it makes really sense. The first thing that you need to do is, what is the target culture I want to go? Do I really want to go to the end state of ideal agile, or is there something in between? Secondly, what is our current state? What is our current cultural? And then we bring one element, which is, what is the minimal viable new cultural? I come to the definition in a moment. Of course, I want to know who is impacted, and based upon that, we create a change plan, because going to a cultural is already a change, aside from all these other elements. And as always, I need to measure them. So what are key cultural dimensions of full agile? And you see where we have what are sources for us, where on which we thought of, where there are important links. And if you go to the web, you will find all kinds of different elements. But we have here put a way of working. Do we trust the process or empower the people? Decision making, is it separated from work in that above in that steering committee, or is it integrated in the work? Do we want control, or we say we are going to have trust that people are going work and that they are going to deliver what they need? Do they respond to change? Do they follow the plan, or just with validated learning? You have seen that probably in the Agile Manifesto. The perspective, is it inside out? We are going to make all the things, I'm going to listen here, and then we are going to make a plan and so on. Or am I really looking outside in and asking clients and see how they look to it, that we are sure that this works. Is our relationship contractual, or we are more partnering up, listening and co-create, and the role assignment, like in a waterfall, I need this and this and this and this, or do we say it are self-organizing teams? And of course, the full agile is very, very to the right side. Well, what is your current state? You see that this is a score on 1 on 6. There's a reason for that, because otherwise often we are going to sit on that 3 in the middle. No, a 3, a 4, a 2, a 5, that makes it that there we can position. You try to find this, you do that, you bring together. I'm not going in all the details. You bring a group together, you try to find indeed this. And then we say, if we want to shift to a certain way, we should determine what's called our minimal viable new cultural. The minimal viable product, well, it came back from, let's say, the end of 2010, about with the lean startup and so on. But a culture is a product like all others. And you're going to say, if we change this, people feel we started on a journey that there are things changing. And so if you do one thing less, then people do not feel it. And so here you see a little bit theoretically, of course, I say the way of working. Imagine you say, we want to empower more the people. And we want the people to take decisions on validated learning, what customers tell them. And they can self-organize them more. It's not fully, more. And then you decide on a more, I'm going to say, atomic level, empower the people. What does this mean? And then ask how employees look, how the team looks to empowered, what does it mean? And based upon that, you're going to say these and these and these things we want to change. And you put that in place. And what do? You measure that. This is an example. We will share it. Not going to explain it completely, but at BNP. Thank you to Nadia. Maybe she's in the call. She gave me that example, which is really great. They asked the team members, where are we now? What would you like to improve? This we're going to improve. We have 5 sprints. In 5 sprints, we count it again and we measure whether we have progress. And so you see, you determine that minimal viable product, and you have, let's say, an implementation. You determine, you implement that, and of course the iterations go fast. But after 3 months, you measure where are we on these 2, 3 things which we wanted to change. And then 3 months later, again 3 things, and 3 months later, again 3 things, and 3 months later, again 3 things. Not more than 3, but it means 12 things shifted in 1 year. People will feel that your cultural mindset has changed. Of course, if you want to know more about this, we're happy to help you out. Please do not hesitate to call us. We also have our a large group from the Nordics who have really experience on cultural change. We are happy, Nordics meaning in the north of Europe. We are one group. We are happy to work to help you out. And then it is the working in Agile, our last part. I need to proceed. There is some time, Michelle. You need to say, Michelle, speed up. No, no issue whatsoever. Well, there is the Agile change management and the change management organized. There is Edgar, there's change management, the product backlog, and we need to measure. What you see here on the right side, there are some impediments, and I already gave those ones. Look through Agile glasses when thinking about change management concepts. And if you do that, you will learn that every concept is still applicable to this project management methodology, which is called Agile. But you need to take account, you need to take into consideration that it is in, that you are part of an Agile team and that you need to deliver this in sprints and so on and so on. Not doing this will position change management aside and you will not be successful. Well, let's zoom in again, and you know these roles. I'm not going to say, we are going to say, to check who is responsible, of course, for change management user stories. The product owner is owner of the complete backlog. The Scrum Master, as mentioned, is overlooking the process, and the development team needs to deliver all these user stories. Well, if you know that, then the question is, who is responsible that change management user stories are on the product backlog? So for the last time, please go to the PolyV, and I want to know, is it the development team? Is it the Scrum Master? Is it the product owner? Which role is in an Agile team responsible for change management user stories? We see a lot of answers concerning the product owner, a few on Scrum Masters, no on development teams. I'm just waiting because I want to know a little bit, have more answers. I'm going to peep a little bit on the number of responses. Yes, they are coming in. Good. And meanwhile, they are coming in. I see that most people are responding here, 83 on the product owner. Well, guys, I only can say well done. This is the most important key question which I always ask when I'm interacting with the clients. And it is, I know it, when I really ask this question this way, everybody answers that the product owner is responsible. If I ask who's responsible for change management, then it suddenly becomes, or who feels accountable, sorry, for change management, then it becomes much more blurry. Although the product owner is responsible for all change management user stories who are on the product backlog. And so the question is, how do I organize change management? And this becomes key. And we're talking only about an Agile team. Bear in mind that sometimes we have a scaled Agile way of working where you have 5 teams, 10 teams working on one big program, let's say, which is called often a release train. Well, how do you align change management? You need to think of that. Maybe, Andrea, that's an element for a next webinar, to think about that scaled Agile way. Well, a change manager doesn't exist in this team. So if there is somebody who has a change management profile, he or she becomes a part of the development team. And a product owner is indeed the responsible for all these user stories. It doesn't mean the product owner is delivering that. But if the product owner has no knowledge of change management, that adoption is needed, and that is a part of his value, then you have an issue. And the Scrum Master also has a role, in a sense, that the Scrum Master needs to say, hey guys, you don't have any change management user stories. And I forgot, Andrea, we had to add one question more. And I forgot it, but I'm going to give it. Imagine I would ask you, how many of you are working in an Agile, if you are working in an Agile team, how many of you have really change management user stories? When I ask that question, at least 1 or 2 teams do not have that. So that's a pity. So if you ask an activity, your product owner should know that change management is also a part of his or her product. Well, what does it mean for ADKAR in the Agile way? For everybody who followed the training, you should recognize, or the training, the certification training and so on, you should recognize that we make a difference on, let's say, a project level, on the whole solution on the one hand, and on the sprints. I'm checking, I see my cursor is not pointing, but there it is. On project level, you ensure upfront that you invest heavily in awareness and desire. And once you go to your small sprints where you release something, of course, there's something people need to learn and they need to be able. So your invest in the ANDD is upfront, and then you go to your next one. Of course, you reinforce every time a little bit of the awareness and he says, hey guys, you know, recognize we do this because of this and this and this and reason. And it means you have this and this and this, these capabilities. And the new features are this. Please go to that training. And there are some floor walkers who are going to help you out and so on. And at the end, we really do reinforcing. And based upon this, you are going to create your change plan. Creating your change plan means all change management activities in your plan, which you would make otherwise, should be translated in change management user stories and often chopped up in smaller bits. All change concepts, we know they are still valid. And the last one, this means a standard list of change management user stories could help to speed up teams. So in your company, if you would make a list of change management stories, that would help. I'm going to give one example of the Prosci risk grid, a great tool. What does this say? On the horizontal axis, I want to assess how much change management risk I have indeed in my project. And you do that on the horizontal axis. There's a questionnaire which says there are small incremental versus large disruptive changes. And on the vertical axis, we say how change resistant is the organization versus how change ready. And it means that you can have a low, a medium, and a high risk. Well, how does it look like in an agile way? And you see that the blue dot, I assume now a big change which is over there. So what happens if we go to a more agile way? You see that the horizontal axis is large disruptive versus small incremental. And you know that you are chopping this up in small releases. So in theory, and I'm going to say in theory because you always need to look for that one to your specific case, because maybe there's a certain sprint which says, and now we are going to get rid of X amount of people. Well, it stays a risk, big risk, but you chop it up and often you get a lot of risks. Bear in mind and watch out, it might be that your risk is going to rise even if you're going to deliver small incremental ones. Why? Because people are getting so many changes that they say, I can't bear it anymore. And if you do remember, when I said that the Prosci research, what they said we need to communicate effectively. It was the second important element when implementing change. You have a timely, digestible, balanced way to communicate and avoid situations, exactly what is mentioned here. Wrapping it up, there's an agile paradigm shift. Don't forget, it is a journey, and do not forget to prepare it and to install a new culture. Otherwise, you will need to go back. Have attention for that mindset and do it not with a big bang. It is a journey. Think about yourself. How to organize change management is key, and make change management user stories. And know I have concepts which help me out. Only I need to look through the glasses of Agile. And so it took me a little bit more time. You need to forgive me. So I'm jumping immediately to some questions. If you have some questions, please chat them. And if I can read, there are already some which I see. Could you say, I read just one. Could you say more about Agile leadership? Well, Agile leadership is a part of that mindset. And if you look through all these dimensions, you see immediately popping up elements which are really key. If I do not empower, it doesn't work. If I do not come down, as I mentioned, it will not work. What it means, it is that what Prosci said, that they need to be active and visible in their participation. That's even more true. That they need to build coalitions to do this is even more true. And that they need to communicate directly with the people. That is a gift for them, because it happens just by default. If they are on what we call the PI planning, it's a planning event, and they are there, then they are interacting with the people. If the people get the idea to demonstrate, they are by default communicating directly with the people. So that one comes a little bit easier. I'm going to check another one. How long does it take approximately to make this journey and be able to implement Agile working and mindset in an organization of about 2,000 people? Well, very, very good question. A good consultant would say, it depends. Well, I'm going to say it depends. Nevertheless, I'm going to give a practical example. Practical example in a company of where I did a safe implementation. So it went to a scaled environment from the start. That the in the first phase, they did what they needed to do. The management took the decision for Agile active, and then they said, we need expertise on change management. We need expertise on Agile. They did that. 1st of Jan, they started and had their discussions. They worked in the shadows. Start visibly after phase 1, the 1st of May. Meanwhile, they recruited change agents, so they really worked on that one. It meant they could start. They started with 15 Agile teams. It's a reality example I give now. 15 Agile teams, not all working in the same cadence. Everybody was looking and trying and doing. And they gave about 4 months, well, 5 months, but it was including holiday period, May, June, July, August, September, where everybody could learn from it, could make mistakes. They had some Agile coaches, and little by little, everybody started to work in the same way. As always, you measure. So we measured the mindset and we measured the methods. And only the teams who met this could start in a way where all the teams worked in the same way. So as of the 1st October, most of the teams, not all, worked in that way. They felt, the ones who were not pulled in, they felt a little bit annoying. Oh, we did mistakes. No, that's culture. No, guys, you were not ready. What did we learn? What can we adapt? And a few weeks later, hop, and they came suddenly in the same cadence as the others. And so they started their journey there. And it meant after 1 year later, then you could say they were working in that way. Just looking to the timing, I fear. One last question. Is that good? How is finance impacted by the Agile way of working? For instance, our budget finance part of an implementation initiative followed up and reported. Indeed, good question. I'm going to give already one element which helps you out. Go to www.scaledagileFramework.com. It is very complex, but type in there, for instance, business case, and you can see what you do. There is a fundamental difference. It is normally your budget is fixed, your scope is fixed, your time is fixed. In the Agile way of working, your scope is never fixed. But you know, I can start, I deliver, that's a little more Agile-ish, but saying I'm delivering the user stories which deliver the most value with the least of effort. So we capture it as fast as possible. And every sprint, you know what you're spending from effort, yes or no. You make, of course, a budget estimation, but those are what we call lean business cases. And every time you have an official start-stop moment when you say, okay, I'm going to continue with this, or we are not going to continue this. The scope, I say, is not fixed because you go as long, because if we invent a scope, we find all of this, but maybe these features are enough. And the cost of these extra features are so high that it doesn't work, that it's not worth, and that I can invest my money in something else. Andrea, you have all the other questions. I will go into it. Please, I will not respond them all in the next hour, but we will ensure that we give some answers and we will share them with you. Just looking to the timing, 4 minutes over time. Okay, I put myself on mute because Andrea is going to close it here.
Yes, thank you, Michel, and thank you to all of you for being here today with us. So as you said, if some questions have remained unanswered during the session, we will get back to you individually during the next couple of days. Please note that this webinar's recording and slides will be available on our website in the upcoming days. Feel free to share everything with possibly interested colleagues. For those who are willing to dig deeper into the topic, please visit the blog of Nexum. If you would like to be kept up to date with all training programs, publication, and webinars, simply subscribe to our newsletter from our website homepage or follow us on LinkedIn. Finally, please note that the date of our next webinar, it's going to be on October 7th, and we will address the activation of sponsors. As change practitioners, you know how important the role of the sponsor is in the success of any change initiative. In this webinar, we will cover the techniques to apply to ensure your sponsor is efficiently playing his role. It only remains for me to wish you an excellent end of the day and a good weekend. Thank you so much and see you soon.